In this video, we're going to explore what is facilitation and what does a facilitator do. Connected to that, we're going to dive into some ways that facilitation happens across a variety of contexts, how to become a facilitator, and different roles and ways that facilitators go about their work in corporate and public and educational contexts all over the world.
What is facilitation? Oftentimes folks will come to us and say, I'm not sure I'm a facilitator. And I think the reframe from facilitator to facilitation skills can be really powerful, open for folks, because at the end of the day, unless you are a contractor or you inside of a company that might have a title of facilitator, more than likely you're the kind of person who needs to bring facilitation skills to bear, but you don't have the title of facilitator. Common titles in an organization might be chief of staff, product manager, designer, program manager, project manager. Ultimately, these people are boundary spanners. And what I mean by that is that they're living at the boundaries of different functional groups or different departments. If those folks are in a role or position where they can navigate and bring together people from different parts of the organization and span those boundaries and bring them together, then facilitation skills are going to be really critical. It ultimately comes down to cross-functional collaboration. If we bring facilitation skills to bear, we can be better collaborators and we can create a better collaborative culture. And so regardless of whether you identify as a facilitator, these facilitation skills are really critical.
And just so we're all on the same page here, when we use the term facilitation at its core is really about creating the conditions through which to help groups or teams reach the outcomes that you're hoping for. As a facilitator and using facilitation, you're able to make that path smoother or easier for them, creating the right conditions to make that happen.
Some key responsibilities when it comes to facilitating is the planning of the session. So whether it's a 30-minute meeting or a 5-day workshop, if you're facilitating, you're responsible for planning and coming up with a really great agenda and making sure all the logistics are figured out. You're also responsible for managing dialogue and group dynamics. You're going to come with really strong prompts that are really clear, that help people understand what's expected of them and how to maneuver through the various activities and the journey that you're taking them on. You're also going to be responsible for managing conflict and resolving any issues that come up. You're keeping time and making sure everything's flowing. And you're also going to be responsible for getting to that closure. So there's some sort of outcome that you've designed toward, that you've identified up front in planning, that you're moving everything towards. So even if it's a 30-minute meeting, if our outcome is to make a decision, if our purpose is because it's important to move the strategic initiative along, and we need to make a very specific decision as part of that, then that's the outcome we're driving toward, and we're responsible for that as well.
You'll notice here that Douglas didn't say anything about you needing to come up with the answer or you needing to do the work for the group or the team. Ultimately, facilitation is about you creating the conditions for other folks to do that and you supporting them in doing that. So that's really key there, that you're making this as great as possible so that you can support others in reaching the outcomes they're hoping for.
At Voltage Control, we believe that facilitation skills can be clustered or categorized into 5 key areas. 1 is being purposed, 2 is being inclusive, 3 is being clear, 4 is being crafted, and finally 5 is being adaptive. So when we talk about being purpose, we mean being rooted in our purpose. So being very clear on our outcomes, being very clear on why we're here, and that finds its way into everything we do, and it makes everything more successful. It makes participants more engaged because they understand why they're there. Everything else is so much more clear. In fact, number 2 is inclusive. We can't be properly inclusive if we don't understand our purpose. If our purpose is to celebrate female reproduction and how we support our femininity, maybe it's the only women group, and that's okay. Men aren't allowed. And being exclusive is okay if we're in pursuit of a purpose that's genuine and valuable and authentic. But we can't be perfectly inclusive unless we're really clear on that purpose and we share it, and then that has a way to coming into the invitation that we use to invite folks in. Being clear is making sure that we use good language that's devoid of jargon and devoid of any metaphor that might be confusing to people. It means that we're constantly rehearsing and learning and debriefing from facilitation sessions that we do to make sure that we get more and more clear. If we say something in a session and it doesn't land well, maybe next time we're going to try a new version of that. Being crafted means we're really intentional about the design of our agendas and the arcs of experiences we're going to take people through. And we're constantly evolving and iterating and refining, and we are treating our work as if we were a sculptor and we're getting every little nuance just right. And finally, being adaptive, that is really about how we're responding to the emergent needs of the group. It means that if we're really rooted in our purpose, we can do whatever it takes to honor our purpose, regardless if we had planned for it or not.
These qualities really create the foundation, the cornerstone for you in your work across your career. These transcend any one moment, and you can continue to get better and better at these and bring the impact that you hope for through your work.
There are many types of facilitators. And in fact, in our book, Magical Meetings, we say there's no such thing as a bad meeting, just a bad facilitator. So if you're convening or gathering people, you're a facilitator. Whether it's a dinner party, a 30-minute meeting, a 3-day workshop, a conference, whatever it is, there are opportunities in your life where you're facilitating. And sometimes it's helpful to think about the different lanes that you might be operating in, because some techniques might be more valuable in other lanes versus others. And in the case of a meeting facilitator, you're really thinking about, how do I drive really succinct outcomes? I'm really clear. You need to be really efficient because you don't have as much time to let things draw out. And you might be thinking about if it's episodic, right? Like a workshop, you're doing everything in that workshop from soup to nuts. If it's a recurring meeting every week, you may be thinking about how you touch on that topic over time. You don't have to do everything in one week. Workshop facilitators are thinking a little bit more about how things start, how things end. It's very contained, it's less episodic. You're also not necessarily an employee. If you're a meeting facilitator, you're probably an employee and you're facilitating with peers. And so you have to be really mindful of the fact that you have an opinion on this matter. They have prior understanding of you and your personality. And so sometimes you might have to put on a different hat and use your ground rules, your pop-up rules to help them realize that, like, wait a second, this isn't Douglas the CTO, this is Douglas the facilitator right now. If you're a workshop facilitator, there's different needs, right? You don't know these people, and so you have to do a little more research up front to understand them, get to know them. In the case of training facilitators, we need to understand the competencies that our students are coming in with, their motivations. And so no matter how you're applying facilitation, the underlying skills might be the same, but within your context, there might be some nuances around how participants are showing up, how you're showing up, and how you need to fill in some of those gaps.
Another thing that's important to highlight here, and this is back to our focus on facilitation versus facilitator, is that you may not have, again, facilitator in your title, in your work, but you may be using or could benefit from using facilitation on a daily basis. So as much as we do have these different types of facilitators out there, and those are really important roles, also too, facilitation comes up across a variety of key positions that are in either your work or in your organization, from product managers, program managers, designers, VPs, founders, CEOs. They all are doing facilitation or could benefit from doing facilitation to bring impact in their work.
To exemplify how facilitation shows up in the real world, I'm going to share a few examples from our facilitation certification alumni. Kat Rodriguez is a facilitator who concentrates her work around discussions of bias in nonprofits and corporate settings. So she's often hosting conversations and holding space where people feel safe to have those conversations. Nate Hughes is the founder of a organization called Detroit Labs as a technology leader who shifted to be more operationally focused and addressing a lot of change initiatives in his organization. He has to work really closely with facilitation skills to help the various employees of his organization feel empowered to navigate change and feel purposeful in that work. Dom McCallick at JP Morgan Chase is a product manager who uses facilitation skills to extract requirements from users and to host meetings with stakeholders to make sure that every perspective is heard so that there's no surprises late in the game. They can discover things early and make sure they're brought into the design and into consideration. And finally, Elena Farden in Hawaii is doing amazing work with indigenous cultures. She's been very active in those communities through government and nonprofits and supporting the needs and the voices of indigenous peoples when it comes to policy making and law. And she's bringing her facilitation skills to make sure that she's more skillful at hosting some of these dialogues and conversations about consent and making sure that she's better synthesizing, collecting, and organizing the various ideas, passions, and needs of the community.
So as Douglas shared there's a whole spectrum of ways that facilitation skills can show up across a variety of roles. None of these folks that he mentioned have facilitator in their title, but facilitation is so key to the success and the impact that they bring in there. And really we see this across so many of our graduates' work. You know, too often we see folks highlight presentation skills as a key set of competencies for a leader, which is such a small part of bringing the impact that you hope for. Facilitation can really bring impact in your work, and it's important that you're able to identify ways that you can further bring facilitation in to bring the impact that you're hoping for in your organization.
The key to developing facilitation skills is first to obtain a foundational set of understandings, vocabularies, and awareness around competencies, and then to start practicing those competencies and building confidence around them. There's a number of ways that you can build a vocabulary and an understanding of the competencies that you need to work on. We offer a certification program that's 3 months long that goes very in depth. We also have a community that you can join with lots of resources and learning and reading. There's also plenty of books. We have one called Magical Meetings. There's plenty of others that you can check out. But this is not the kind of thing you read about and then instantly become expert or proficient at. You have to practice it. And so finding low stakes moments where you can do these things and get good at it, repetition is the key. And so finding moments where you can do it and doing it over and over and over again, you'll build your confidence, you'll build awareness of areas you want to improve on that you can work on, and you'll start to build up a little toolkit of prompts and techniques and activities that you love to use. And I'll say that our online community Facilitation Lab is a great place to come and get access to resources, meet peers that are practicing as well, so you can kind of like build relationships that you can lean on, as well as there's plenty of practice opportunities. So we have virtual practice opportunities every other week, and we also have in-person practice opportunities in various regions. Each region has a meeting every month. So we invite you to come and practice and learn with us.
Yeah, practice is the cornerstone of getting better at anything that you want to do. And in order to learn how to do things, you got to actually do them and reflect on how well things worked. That's something that both you can provide self-feedback. So if you're real deliberate on what you're practicing, just checking in and asking, how did that go? What might I get better at? And then also making sure that you're gathering feedback from peers, colleagues, people that you trust that can give you honest feedback so that you can continue that momentum and that growth.
In conclusion, we heard about what is facilitation. We heard a bit about what are the techniques and the responsibilities and the skills involved in being a great facilitator and applying these facilitation capabilities within inside your organization. We heard about different roles, and we even heard some examples of folks that are doing this great work around the globe. And so we invite you to think about how these skills might show up in your work. Think about some of the advice we gave you around learning how to apply these and putting them into practice. Maybe pick one or two things and try it out, and then come back and watch the video again and experiment with some other things as you progress.
And we'd love to hear your stories of practice. Share with us what you've learned, what you've implemented from these videos and continued to build on, because those then become the stories that we can share with the wider community, where they can continue to see how facilitation shows up regardless of role or title, especially when we're talking about leading collaboration and bringing the impact that we hope for.